Just One Thing is a podcast with both feet firmly placed in the world of events and the creative industries, presented by me, Mel Noakes.
And me, Max Fellows.
It's a podcast from Elevate, where industry trailblazers write a letter to their younger selves.
And consider what wise words of advice they would give themselves now, if only they could.
Our discussion is all based on this letter. Be prepared for refreshingly honest conversations and words of wisdom. Our guest on this episode is Natalie Duvall, Creative Director of March Muses and Cultural Marketing Events Manager at Red Bull, a diversity and inclusion champion and a presenter on the award-nominated Black Mums Upfront podcast.
Natalie's work spans culture, creativity and entrepreneurship. At Red Bull, she leads event marketing across dance music, working with major global artists and delivering high-profile events like Red Bull Dance Your Style. She's also the co-founder of March Muses, the UK's leading brand for diverse Christmas decorations. Since launching in 2019, the brand has gone from a kitchen startup to a household name, with products now stocked in Selfridges, Liberty and Tesco. In 2022, appearances on Dragon's Den helped take the business to new heights.
Natalie is also a passionate speaker, trained actor and cultural commentator, with appearances on the BBC, ITV, Channel 4 and at major events including Stylist Live and Black Investor 360. She champions inclusion, storytelling and purpose-driven work with a focus on women in business, Black maternal health and motherhood.
We're really excited she's joined us today, but first Natalie's going to now read a letter to her younger self.
Dear Natalie, 2005. So you're 22. You've just finished your master's in acting at East 15 and you're ready. You can feel it in your bones. This is it. You're stepping out into the world, eager to become the most exciting, groundbreaking Black actress the industry has ever seen. You've got that Hollywood energy. You know you're supposed to be the next iconic Black doctor on some hit TV show, and you're not wrong for dreaming big. Keep dreaming big. You are an actress. And the beautiful thing about being an actress is you know you can blow up at any time. You know this, and that's what keeps that fire alive. That hope, that hunger. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it. In your early career, you'll have some great moments when you'll get to film some cool adverts, you'll tour different cities in different theatre productions, and you'll even dance with the one and only Tina Turner. But most of the time, it will feel like your dreams are parked up while your friends are realising theirs. You'll sit in the audience clapping for people you love, all while wondering, when is it your turn? That sting, it's real. But so's your resilience, and you don't crumble, you create, because you are a creative. You're an ideas girl. You're never empty-handed. You always find another way, even when you feel lost, confused, disappointed, and itching for more. You are more. You've done everything right, and yet life takes you down a path you didn't plan, but that's the magic of it all. Soon, you'll take a temp reception job at a small energy drink company. And you don't know it yet, but that decision maps out your entire corporate career. A 9-to-5 that becomes a 20-year journey in shaping culture, mentoring talent, and finding your voice in rooms you never imagined entering. That temp job, it wasn't a detour, it was divine design. And then, plot twist. You'll start a business, yes, you. A business that changes the game. You'll bring representation to the shelves. You'll slay dragons on national TV. You'll fight against the whitewashing of Christmas and make the festive season look like you, like your daughters, like your community. You start a movement because your magic isn't limited to scripts, stages, or soft drinks. It lives in everything you touch. And let's talk about those daughters. Your two broke besties, as you call them. You will birth joy in human form. They may test your wallet, but my God, they'll fill your heart in ways you can't imagine. They'll be loud, loving, full of sass, and so funny. And they'll remind you every day that legacy isn't just about what you leave behind, but what you raise up right in front of you. You'll build this full layered life, a mosaic of ambition, motherhood, friendship, creativity, and faith. And sometimes you'll be so busy, you won't even realize you're standing inside a life you once begged the universe for. And guess what? You're happy. You're healthy. You're loved. You've got family that has your back, friends who ride for you, and mentors who see your brilliance even when you forget it. And let's be real, that acting dream, it's still there, still fierce, still flickering. You never stop loving the lights. You never stop being moved by performances of icons like Angela Bassett and Laura Linney and Viola Davis, who remind you that greatness does not expire. You don't age out of them, you grow into them. Also, you don't even look like you're in your 40s, which you eventually will be, spoiler alert, because yes, it's true, black doesn't crack. In fact, you glow. You walk with the wisdom of experience and the energy of someone who still wants to do it all. And you can. You'll have your fingers in so many pies, you'll forget what the original pie even was. Too many pies? Maybe. But you wouldn't have it any other way. A true Pisces. You're that one fish swimming upstream, refusing to follow the current. That's who you are. You never choose the easy road. You love the challenge. You love the build. So here's what I need you to know. Be proud. Be so proud. Even when you feel left behind, you're never behind. You're just carving out a different route, a Natalie-shaped one. And yes, being the eldest sibling can have a heavy cross to bear, but admit it, you love being in charge. You've always been the boss. Always been Miss Bossy Boots. Own it. Keep manifesting. Keep dreaming. Keep putting in the work, because there's so much more to come, and what you've done already, it's a lifetime of legacy. And as for love, don't even worry. You'll meet many soulmates in your life, some for a reason, some for a season, and some who will leave you changed forever. But it's all love. Keep learning, keep winning. So much love from your future self. Natalie, 2025.
Well, and with that, a big welcome to the Elevate Sofa.
Thank you for having me.
Natalie, we'll ask you to introduce yourself very shortly to those that don't know you. But what I will say is, hearing that letter again, I feel like there's a big space for you on BBC Story Time for kids. Because holy moly, I was sucking into that. It's just, blimey, you're very good at that, right? That was very good, right? Very sucking in. So now that the gushing's out the way, please do introduce yourself to those that might not know you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Natalie Duvall. I am a mother. I'm a entrepreneur. I am a culture and marketing manager at Rebel UK. I'm a podcaster, like you said, Black Mums Upfront. I'm a dreamer. I'm a believer. I am very dramatic, as my friends will tell you. And I have an obsession with the sitcom Friends. I've seen every episode, maybe 170 times. So there we go.
And very busy as well.
Too busy.
And so those broke besties of yours that you described, how would they describe you?
Well, they don't think I'm cool, which really upsets me. Because I'm like, I'm the coolest mum you're ever going to have. Like, you have no idea how cool I am.
Culture marketing events at Red Bull, pretty cool.
It's all right, give them time. When they grow up, they'll realise.
For that time. They are 11 and 14, so I guess they're in that kind of teenage, like, oh, mum's so cringe. But yeah, they don't think I'm cool, which that does annoy me. But no, I think they think I'm the chilled parent, so I'm not as strict as their dad is. And so yeah, our house is a very female hormonal house. Like, you walk in and the hormones are literally attacking you as soon as you walk through that door. It's like, it's horrendous. But we'll get through this stage and we'll get through on the other side. I'm just in that horrible teenage life bit at the moment. So yeah, it's fun.
So one of the questions we love to ask people when they come on is the experience of writing the letter and what it was like for you. Because what we've realised is, for so many of us that have been in this career for so long, it's always on, it's always go, it's always demanding of your energy and time, that we often don't get the chance to look back and take a moment to reflect. So how was writing the letter for you and having that opportunity?
You know, it was quite funny. And I think there's a couple of things that I said in terms of, like, you know, she doesn't know it yet, but this little temp job is going to change the course of the next 20 years. And it's so, like, when you're in your 20s, you just go from, like, just trying to make it, trying to get some money in, and you don't actually realize what effect it's going to have for your future self. So just thinking about when I first started at Red Bull as a temp, just doing reception work, to where I am right now is ridiculous. And it's kind of mind-blowing. And it's kind of like, what? So when I was writing that bit, that kind of took me back a little bit to that first day. And also, I think I wrote something about you're so busy sometimes you don't even get that chance to look around and be like, actually, this is what I prayed for. This is what I've been asking for. I've been asking for, children. I've been asking for a career. I've been asking for a bit of financial stability. And actually, that's what you've got at the moment. So you're always striving for more, but actually take a moment. You've actually built something that is, tangible and something that you've got. So yeah, it's nice to stop and just to look, but then you also be like, oh, okay, I want to do more now. Like it inspires you to be like, okay, what else can I do?
Blimey, what else? There's enough things. So in your letter, you articulate it incredibly well. A lot of other people will go through in a more methodical kind of career stage, almost like a CV with emotion. Yours is a lot more holistic. There is emotion for sure, but there is positivity. You articulate it beautifully, I suppose. And what I wanted to ask is, in terms of that reflection, that sense of positivity and things, have you always had that? Or is that something more later down the line as some of these ambitions have been realised with your various ventures, which we'll talk about in a bit?
You know what? I am a positive person, and I'm always like, I'm a glass, full kind of person. And I think, especially as I mentioned in the letter, like I'm the eldest sibling. So I'm the eldest sister. I've got a younger brother and a younger sister. So I've always been the one that's been like, okay, this is the plan. Okay, let's do this. Okay, all right, we're going to do this. And also in my friendship group, like I'm the one who's like, okay, I'm going to book the holiday. We're all going to do it. Like we haven't been on holiday in my friendship group for about 5 years because I haven't booked it. And so if I don't do it, then it doesn't get done. So I'm very much like I'm a go-getter, without a doubt a go-getter. And I've got that definitely from my parents. My mum, she was in media. My dad was in media as well. He was an actor when he was younger. Okay. So I think it's the elder sibling thing and like the friendship group thing. I take on that persona of like the ideas person. Okay, why don't we do it like this? Or let's do it like that, which is a gift and a curse. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I can be quite problematic in ways where I'm sometimes a bit too forceful, too positive, this is the idea. This is how it needs to be. And actually, I'm not always right. And that's some things that I'm trying to learn, that I'm not always right.
This is on the way. So you're going back then. So your letter was to yourself at 22. Prior to that, so your mum and dad were both in media.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that. And did your passion and I suppose the ambition to be an actress come from that?
Yeah.
Talk us through a bit.
Definitely. I think my dad was an actor and then he went into radio and was one of the pioneers who started Choice FM, which was like a huge urban
anyone that grew up in that period knows Choice FM.
Choice FM, yeah. It was in Brixton on Acre Lane. So I used to spend all my summers there, like with my dad, because, you just bring your kids to work all the time back in those days. And so I definitely grew up around music and around theatre. My mum was in PR as well, so music and entertainment was always around. I've always sung, always danced, did ballet as a child. My mum always tells the story of when we had the nativity play at school and I came home and I was the cow in the nativity play, and she was really annoyed because she was like, why isn't she Mary? Is it because she's black? And she went down to the school and she was like, why is she not Mary? And the teacher said, well, she wanted to be the cow. And so my mum said to me, why did you want to be the cow? And I was like, because the cow gets to tap dance. So that's what she always reminds me. Like, I wanted to be the tap dancing cow. I didn't want to be Mary who just sat there with the baby, and I wanted to dance and sing. And so she was like, oh, you could have told me that before I took everyone down at the school. So I definitely get my drive from my mum, who's always trying to push her children and make sure that they're in the right place at the right time and they're not missing out on opportunities. And I do that with my children as well. So yeah, I think singing, dancing, acting, it's in my blood. It's what I love to do. Honestly, I went to the Brit School of Performing Arts. It was a great school. It was one of my favourite times. I got Amy Winehouse was in the year below me. So that's a little fun fact. Although she wasn't Amy Winehouse then. She was just the annoying girl that's singing in the corner. But it was just such a great school that it just really brings out the best in you. So yeah, theatre, music, dance, it's what I love.
And you talk about in your letter that journey of being an actress and going through getting some amazing jobs, possibly not getting some of the jobs, watching some of your friends and sitting in the audience clapping them, wondering when it's your turn. So what was that early career stage like while you were navigating, I guess, the course of being an actress and where that might lead?
It was exciting because, like I said, I was like, I'm going to get it. And I still think like that now. I'm like, Spielberg is going to call me one time and be like, we're doing Jurassic Park 19 and we need that black doctor and it's you. Like that, I'm manifesting that moment. But when I was younger, I think you're so full of like, you're green. And so you're like, every audition you might just get. And sometimes you do get it and sometimes you don't. I remember getting one of my first auditions and it was for a butter advert and I got it and I was just like elated. And it was literally just a butter advert where I literally ate a piece of butter, some toast on some butter. And it wasn't anything magical and it wasn't even acting really. It was just like me putting some bread in my mouth. But from then on, I was like, I'm an actress. And then you don't get anything for like years after that. And you're like, what's going on? And then I've got amazing friends who, they've been in some great shows and toured, and I've watched them and applaud them because I love them so much. And you do think, well, what about me? And I still think it now. I think when I was younger, there was a lot more pressure and you put a lot more pressure on yourself to be like, I've got to make it. And then as time goes on and you realize actually life isn't A, B, C. It's actually A, J, Z, X, B, D. Like it's the journey, it's the puzzle that you put the pieces in, and it's never going to be, in the order that you want it to be in. But eventually that puzzle's going to come together and you're going to have that picture that you always wanted. And I'm still putting those pieces in. So it's an ongoing journey and an ongoing love that I would never, ever give up.
Of the three, slight side question, of the triple threat that you are, which is the strongest?
Theatre. I am dramatic.
Right.
So theatre, acting.
Acting's the strength.
That's the strength.
Unless it's with toast and butter, then maybe not so right.
Listen, I love a bit of bread as well, so yeah.
Noted, next time you come on, we'll have some toast ready to go.
Mel's question, and it resonated because something you said in there is that you mentioned that perhaps the group of friends that you had, and there's a point where you had to almost slow down, and without casting kind of a negative connotation on it, I thought that was quite interesting. I wanted to understand a bit more about that, where you said applauding from the sidelines, but you also kind of hinted towards this, you were going at a pace or a place, and perhaps some of your friends weren't, or talk us through a little bit about that, because I can resonate with it a bit.
Yeah, I think when you're younger, you're trying to do everything and anything, and also the world is your oyster. And I was younger, I didn't have any like children or anything, so nothing was kind of stopping me apart from myself. So, I've got a great group of friends where most of us are performers and actors, singers and stuff like that.
Your night out must be wild.
I mean, we're dramatic. Like charades with us is like, it's a serious game and we act our pants off when we're doing it. But I think sometimes it is hard when you watch... and I've got family members who are like performers and stuff like that, and you're like they're getting their moment, and you're so happy for them. But obviously, a part of you is like, what about me, kind of thing. And so I think you get to a point where you're just like I don't even think it's like readdressing your priorities. I think you just other things start to become important as well. So whether it's the first time you meet someone and like you fall in love, and so I had that moment where I was like, actually, my boyfriend was the most important thing. And then you have children. It's like, okay, the children are the most important thing. Like, and actually, the love of stuff still's there, but there's other things that kind of match it or maybe take it over in different parts and different times of your life. So, no year is the same. No experience stays the same. Like the most things that happen is always change. Change is the thing that happens the most, whether that's your mindset, whether that's your situation. So, yeah, it took me a while to be happy with that. I'm not on screen. I'm not on stage every single day. But I just realized that actually this is the route I'm taking. And eventually it might happen, but it might not. But it's okay because look at everything else that you've got.
Is there and it feels like there's something there still. Is there a kind of an ambition or appetite there at some point to go back? And what would that, scratching that itch, what would that look like if you were to go back, or even when, you know, the next phase or career journey?
I don't know, because I look at, when I mentioned I talk about people like Viola Davis, and she got really big in her 40s. Yeah. Samuel Jackson got really big in his 40s. Oprah Winfrey got really big in their 40s. So I'm in my 40s. So I'm like, okay.
This is the decade. this is it.
This is the moment. The 40s is now. So I'm literally looking around like, you know, is it going to hit me now? But no, it's nowadays content is being consumed in a different way than it was back in the day. So creating more, Netflix, like it's giving more opportunities to people to perform, to be behind the screens, in front of the screens, like wherever you want to be. So I'm always looking, and I think, you know, a nice little Netflix series would be great.
Manifest it, get it out there.
Manifest it, bring it on.
And we can't gloss over the fact that a certain Tina Turner was mentioned in your letter because, I mean, we need the backstory. How did you come to be dancing with Tina?
Again, it was a audition that I went to. I'd just given birth, by the way. So this was about 11 years ago. And I'd just given birth, and my agent's like, oh, there's an advert for Tina Turner. And I was like, oh, but I've just given birth. And he's like, oh, you just need to just go in and just like, you know, see what happens. I thought, okay, whatever. And it was like £5,000. I was like, okay, I need that money. So I went to the audition, and there was all these dancers, like, you know, legs up here. And I thought, oh no, this isn't me. I can't.
Not the time for legs up in the air.
It's really not the time for legs up in the air. And like my breasts were really big from like breastfeeding, so that I could feel the milk like coming in. And I was like, okay, it's fine. And I remember dressing up in like a kind of 70s, 60s kind of outfit. And I thought, okay, just fake it. And I'm a big faker. Like, you know, fake it till you make it. That's, you know, I'm a true believer on that. And so they said, okay, so can you just do some dance moves? And I was thinking, no, I can't. Like, you didn't tell us to prepare. And I literally just did, you know, just some very 70s kind of movements that I could think of. And I got the part with like 3 other dancers. And I felt like such a fraud because I thought, I'm not a dancer, but I'm just going to fake it until I make it. They flew us over to Switzerland. And when I say I was with 3 other dancers, the director said, okay, so this is the dance we want you guys to emulate. So can you, we'll give you like maybe a couple of hours. Can you go over there and can you like practice the dance and format it and all that kind of stuff? So we were like, okay. So we went to the corner. Luckily, one of the girls, she's like a choreographer as well. So she was taking us through it. And I just kept saying to them, I've just had a baby, just so you know, like I'm not a dancer. I feel like I'm a fraud. And they're like, no, you got this. And they were like, okay, so it's boom cat, 1, 2, 3, boom cat. And I was thinking, boom cat, what are you talking about? But they were so graceful, and they were so like very nice with me in that situation. And yeah, we learnt the dance. Tina Turner came on set, and when she comes, it's like this calm just goes across the set. And she talked us through the dance and what she was thinking while she was dancing it back in the day with her Ikettes. And she absolutely was just the most amazing woman. We danced for her. She danced with us. It was a surreal moment that I'll never, ever forget. Really cool.
What a highlight. And what else, things that's up there. What else would you then say that has been real milestone moments? And we'll go in a little bit more into the Red Bull side of things, but over the last 20 years or so, what other moments would you say sit up there with Tina that you think, actually, gosh, that was amazing?
I did a thing called the 24-hour plays at the Old Vic with Jeff Goldblum and I was about to say Patrick Swayze, but it's not Patrick Swayze, it's Kevin Spacey. And that was really cool. And that was a real highlight in, like, I was, again, 21, 22, just finished drama school and got to be at the Old Vic. I've had some really nice theatre acting moments. I think Tina Turner was like probably one of my most famous and most exciting moments, because it's just like, it's Tina Turner. And how often are you ever going to be next to someone? It's like being next to Beyonce. It's like, when are you ever going to have a chance?
Icon.
It's a proper icon. And she's proper. So that moment was probably one of my, in terms of like theatre acting career, like one of my highlights out. And also because I'd just given birth. I'd just given birth. And so I left my child in England with her dad and my family and flew to Switzerland. So this was like the first time that I'd like also been away from my kids. I was there, I was still having to express my milk. Like, so doing that as a young mum as well was pretty like crazy that I would even be doing that. But like I said, I'm a go-getter. I'm like, if I say yes, you're going to do it? Okay, cool. Say yes. Just do it. So
in that sense of being in the right place and opening up opportunities.
You have to be at the right place at the right time. When you think about anything that we do, whether it's with corporate work, whether it's theatre, whether it's anything, it's all about being at the right place at the right time and having that right door opened for you. You know, it's a matter of luck and chance, but you have to put yourself in those situations to get the luck and to get the chance.
And that's the bit I wanted to add. I'm a firm believer in capitalising on those, because I think that you can have opportunities come up but not realise it until you put yourself forward kind of into them and take control of them. So I think that's something that happens quite a bit but people perhaps don't realise.
I think when you're younger you should just say yes. Just say yes, because especially when you're trying to figure out what you're doing with your life, and you're at that age where anything can happen, but you have to say yes to let anything happen. And it's a great time to do that. It gets harder as you get older because your boundaries are set and you're like, actually, I said yes to that and I shouldn't have. But you wouldn't know that you shouldn't have if you didn't say yes in the first place. So you've got to you have to put yourself out there. You have to say yes to know what you actually like and what you don't like. And I always say that to my kids all the time when they're like, oh, I didn't want to do, just do it, see what happens. And then now at least you've done it and you can go, actually, in future, I'm not going to do that. Or in future, I'm going to do more of that.
Yeah, you learn from it.
Oh, without a doubt.
So let's come to how you found yourself at a drinks company in a temp role. What was going on that caused you to go and get a temp role? Was that as a sort of subsidy to acting? Was that a new desire?
As a jobbing actress, that's what you do. You have the side job. And so temping is the easy side job that it's non-committal. So you don't feel like you're not there all the time. It's a temp role. The company that I was with was a cool company. It was called Secretaries Plus at the time. I don't think they're around anymore. And actually, Judy Guy, her name was, and she loved acting. And so she would always hire actors and to go into these corporate roles because she knew that we could just turn it on. And it was a reception role. So she would send me to like BHS and Arcadia and all these different like corporate roles where it was quite boring in some of these jobs because back in those days, I sound so old, but back in those days, there was no real internet thing. So you'd have a screen, but the most you'd have is solitaire on the screen that you could actually play. And you'd have a switchboard and sometimes the phone would ring and then you would send it to whoever. So that was reception. You'd welcome people in. And then I think just one time she's like, oh, there's a small drinks company. You'll be fine. Just do what you usually do. I was like, yeah, that's fine. So I went there. It was called Red Bull. I'd never, I don't think I'd even heard of the drink back then. It's like 20 years ago. And I was just on reception. And it was a great job. And I would go there and then I would go and then do like a theatre show or go and do something else. And then they would always call me back because I got along with everyone. And this is the positivity, the communication skills, which is always really good that actors usually have. They get along with everyone. Even if they don't like them, they pretend to and they act like they do kind of thing. And I just had a great relationship with the other girls on reception, with the other people that worked there. It was just a real cool job to do. So whenever they needed a temp, they would ask for me. And that's basically how my role started there, just as a temp, in and out. I'd go and do like a theatre show, go and do some Shakespeare, and then I'd come back if they called me. So it was like that for about 6-7 years.
Wow. So your first stint at Red Bull was very transactional. It was in and out.
It was in and out. It was temping, it was reception, it was admin. But they would just always ask for me and I was always available because you're a jobbing actress.
For 6 or 7 years you did that?
For about 6 or 7 years. Yeah.
Wow, okay.
6 or 7 years I did that. I had children. Like I was like, I had my first child. And then when I had my first child, I was like, I'm going to need something a bit more, sustainable because this jobbing acting thing is not the easiest and I need some money. And I would go and there was I was a PA for a little bit there, again, temping. And the HR guy was like, oh, there's a role here. it's a PA role and it's full time. And I really think you should take it because they love you. And I was like, oh, I don't know, because Spielberg's going to call. And, I feel like...
Jurassic Park is round the corner.
It's round the corner, guys. Like, I can feel it in my bones. Hollywood is going to call me. And, if I take this role, then they might not call. And then they were very much like, okay, don't worry about it. Like, it's fine. It's cool. So I didn't take the role and another girl took the role. But she was so bad at the role that they got rid of her within a week. And then there's like, Natalie, please, can you just come? If Spielberg calls, he calls. And we'll figure that bit out. But we just need like someone like you just to be there. They love you so much. You just be great. And I was like, oh, okay, it's fine. I'll do it because I've got this baby as well. I actually do need something a bit more substantial. So I came in as like an assistant, just a PA to the marketing director.
And at that time when you came in as a PA and an admin, because I love these sort of routes into companies, because I think when people see your title and what you do now, they're like, oh, what was that career path like? And you must have always imagined it. And it's so fascinating when you hear the route in. So did you have any ambitions at that point of, I could see myself doing something in culture or marketing, or I could bring some of this thing that I'm passionate about into this work? Or were they two separate worlds?
Two separate worlds. I at first just saw it as a means to just get money. It was very transactional for me. I was like, I could be a PA. I could put on this hat and this role. And I kind of was like, I'm a PA. Like it was almost like an acting job for me, like an episode from Mad Men or something where I'm like, yeah, I'm the PA. So I just took it on as just like an easy role to do. I was like, yeah, I can organise stuff. Remember, I'm the oldest sibling, so I organise stuff.
I've got this. I
know how to organise a diary. I know how to, book drinks and book restaurants and all that kind of stuff. Like this is what I do. This is easy kind of thing. And also it's a real nice environment. So why not just do it in an environment that I actually like? I get along with everyone. But, and this is what I always say to younger people as well. Like that post room to manage a pipeline, like sometimes they don't get it. And they sometimes feel like, when they come out of university, they should be a manager straight away. And actually, no, you need to learn loads of things before you get to that manager role. Like, I had a temping job where I worked at a funeral home and I was sorting out urns. Like that's the kind of start I had, where I was literally, it was the temping agency said, it's called Creme de Creme. And I thought, it's a bakery. I actually thought, this is lovely. Okay, I can work at a bakery. And I thought Creme de Creme sounds great. So
donuts.
I literally thought it was a bakery and I was going to be doing some sort of admin on the bakery side. I got there and I was like, it's not called Creme de Creme. It's called Creme and Sem, which is crematorium and cemetery. And I was not, it was a sort of bakery, wasn't it? Like it wasn't quite the one that I was thinking of, but I had to sort out ashes and urns and
So you were dealing with urns to earn?
Literally, like I had to sort out all these different things. And so when I think about those jobs that I did, it actually builds character. And this is what I want to talk about. Say yes, because now I know, okay, well, that wasn't for me. That wasn't for me, but at least I did it. At least I've got that story. And at least, I know where my boundaries lie. Like, actually, I'm not going to do that again. And actually, next time I'm going to look into what the company is first before I say yes to that. So it's all learning. But no, I never put the two together. But I would always see like the culture team at Red Bull and be like, they're so cool. They're so cool. They know what they're doing. They work with artists. It's like I always just used to kind of look up to them and be like, that's really cool what they're doing. But I never saw it for myself. I was just there as the team assistant, supporting everyone, making sure that things were booked, that diaries were aligned, and that presentations were sent over.
It's interesting. So it's something that we've seen more so and through the wider Elevate community, in that the ambition is there, which is amazing. And a lot of people have huge ambitions, but in some cases, the expectation, either of themselves or the speed in which they could reach some of these heights is perhaps misaligned. And I don't want to ever dampen anyone's ambition. You can do whatever you really kind of want to. However, there is this thinking that, right, well, I've done that for 2 years, 4 years, I'm here and there, and off I go.
Yeah.
To your point, how do you kind of address that and see that within the organisation? And as a second point, at what point in that kind of early stage career, did you think, actually, no, this is a home for me for a while and I'm going to see what this is like as a career?
I think especially when you're starting out, everyone has that plan A, don't they? You have your plan A. At 22, I'm going to do this. At 23, I'm going to do this. And by the time I'm 25, I'm going to do this. And I would say maybe there's 6% of the population where their plan A actually worked. That plan B, that plan C is what is actually going to happen. But plan A can still be there. It's what I talk about. But plan B and plan C is probably what's going to happen the most. And you can find ways to integrate your plan A, your plan B, the plan C. Just know that it's not going to be linear. Just know that it's gonna weave and it's gonna take different things. I think, what was your second question? I forgot.
It was, at what point did you believe, so from the temp into the PA role and things, did you go, actually, I love it here, or this is now what I think I'd like to do as a career?
I started to enjoy it so much. And it really and a part of me was like, oh, but remember you're an actress. Remember you want to do acting. I said, yes, Natalie, you want to do acting, but you really enjoy this as well. You're really enjoying getting to know about, what marketing is. You're really enjoying the creativity of it, because I'm a creative. I'm an ideas person. And actually what was so great about working in this environment is that they listened to ideas, everyone's ideas. It didn't matter where you were in the food chain. They wanted to hear ideas. And so for a while I was the marketing assistant, and I did that role for about 3 years. And then I really, really loved entrepreneurship, and they had this social innovation arm of the business that they were looking at. And they were like, you'd be great at social innovation. So I said, yes. Yes, let's do that. And so I did social innovation for a little while. And then obviously COVID happened and there wasn't any events happening and things like that. And they were like, okay, well, let's do some internal stuff. Let's look at what we can do internally with this office and the space and designing and stuff. I said, yes. I'm not a designer, but I said, yes. And then it was like, okay, culture. We're really bringing culture back after COVID. We want to do more things in music and we love your creativity. So what do we think about culture? And I said, yes. And this is what I mean. Say yes. So especially when you're not sure where things are going, and especially when you want to do more, I just kept saying yes. And each time I learned something. I got new mentors, new people in my corner, people who wanted to see me win. Then something else came along. I said yes. Then something else came along. So I've just kept saying yes to the things that were offered to me. And that's where I've ended up.
And does it feel like you've ended up in a space where you are able to bring so much of your passion from outside the culture side of things into this world? And does that feel like the right place for you, or are you waiting for the next adventure?
I love it here. So I absolutely love it here. And absolutely, I think everyone in our team brings their outside in. And that's what makes it so good, because you have that network. And so you can call on this person and then on that person, and this person. And that's how you build culture. It can't just be in silo. It can't just be like just this little team. It has to be the community around you that brings things to you because they know you. And I think that's why it's so important to have diversity in rooms, because, people enjoy talking to other people, networking, and that's how you get into some of these spaces, because you knew someone who knew someone who knew someone. And that's why networking is so important, because you've got to almost know someone, and that's with everything. And it doesn't matter what it is, whether that is in acting, whether that's in corporate, whether that's in school. You have to kind of, you have to build that network in order to help you get to where you need to be.
And you say it in your letter that you ended up speaking in rooms you never thought you'd be in.
Yeah.
So can you give us some examples of that and what that was like? Even
this room here. Just to be here talking about this journey. I never thought I'd be here talking about what I'm doing, but this is exactly an example. Being in a room like this, I only ever imagined being on a stage doing my thank you Oscar speech. And
have you got it prepared?
Oh, I've practiced it. I've practiced it many times. I thank God. We've
got some good cameras and lights. It's not far off.
Listen, I thank everyone, and I even thank Red Bull in my speech for getting me through those years. I've practiced it a few times, because that's me manifesting, and that's me, hopefully bringing it into fruition. But I think, just being in rooms like this, even being on TV or just anything like this, I didn't imagine. I only kind of had that plan A, and then you have to go, okay, actually plan A is not working. What else am I looking at? So, yeah.
You are an exceptionally positive person. And I've got two parts here and they're probably a bit more neggy Nancy, but you say yes. What do you say no to? Where's the line? And then equally, what is something that perhaps, has happened that hasn't been so positive, and how did you kind of react to?
I will be very honest. I find it hard saying no. I find it very hard, even when it's like...
to the detriment, do you find, of things? Or?
Yeah, and then you end up taking on too much, and that's where burnout happens because you didn't say no. And I think I don't know if it's a very British thing, that we're very polite and we're like, yes, I'll do that kind of thing. So it's something that I am learning more and more, just because I don't have enough time to do everything, and learning how to say no. But I think I think it's hard for a lot of people to be so negative and say no to a lot of things. And this is when you start to learn about boundaries. And I think that comes with age and it comes with experience. Although the new generation, they're a bit more on the nose with it, and they'll say no. But obviously, I was born in the 80s, so I'm very much that type of I'm from that type of era. But yeah, I think it is hard, and yeah, not everything has gone away, and not everything. I remember when I was younger, and I got a pantomime at the Greenwich Theatre. And I said, I just did pantomime last year. I don't want to do pantomime again. I'm sure there's something better out there for me. And I said no to it. But had I said yes, I would have done the pantomime. And then the girl who did get it, she then got offered a film. Now, whether that was going to be my route or not, who knows? But I was watching as she was doing a lot more. I thought, if I said yes to that and not no, I might have been in a better room and a better situation where I could have leveraged something to get something else. So there's always that what if, but you can't live like that. You just have to go with what you decided.
So at what point along this journey did you get the idea for your business? Because you're busy at Red Bull, you're busy being a mum, you're considering your acting and performing career, and then you have an idea for a business.
Yeah. It was my children. I think when you have children, I think things definitely change and your mindset changes. You want them to grow up in a world where things are equal and their lives are amazing. And it's a bit like that Martin Luther King speech where he's like, I have a dream that everyone is equal and all that kind of stuff. And so you do start to think about, how your children are growing up. And it was one Christmas, it was 2018, we were hanging Christmas decorations on our tree. And she was 7 at the time, my eldest, and she said, can Christmas angels have brown skin? And I said, of course they can have brown skin. What a weird question that you would ask me as I was hanging up a white angel, white Santa, white elf on a shelf. I thought, okay, this is why you think angels can't have brown skin. So I thought, you know what? It's 2018. I'll just go online and just buy some so that you know that, yes, angels can be black. Went online and went on Amazon, went on Etsy, all the usual places that you would get Christmas decorations. Couldn't find any. I thought, that's a bit annoying. Found one in America, but it cost £25 to get sent over here. And I thought, whoa, the actual decoration itself cost like $4, and I'm paying $25 to get it over here. And then I spoke to my friend, and she said that she found one in a shop, but it was a white angel that had been painted black. So the owner had painted it black. And so I was like, is this a thing? That there are no decorations that look like us? And we did our extensive search, couldn't find any. And so we had this idea, we're like, okay, well, why don't we just make a few? Now, I'm not a designer. I can't draw, but I'm a creative. This is what I talk about with, I have ideas and I'm a creative and I'm positive. So I'll make things happen. And so we kind of walked into 19 with a passion of purpose to make sure that question, can angels have brown skin, is never asked again by anyone, whether it's a child who's black, a child who's white, whatever the race is, that that when we're talking about angels and we're talking about, I don't know when the last time you saw an angel, but we're talking about things that are almost a part of our imagination that, no one really knows what an angel looks like. It could be a feather. It could be just a light. Or it could be an actual person with wings. Who knows? But that image should be diverse because we're talking about, a mythical creature almost. And so that was the birth of our business. My daughter tells me this every year that she's the reason why we have this business. And so I'm like, yeah, go do your homework, go away. But yeah, that was the catalyst. That was the start. And then we've just kind of built it ever since. And that was in 2019 was our first year.
That's amazing. So you've then gone on to, and I'd love to hear about the Dragon's Den experience as well. But in doing that, how's that been with Red Bull? Have they been supportive of this side hustle? What's that dynamic and conversation been like?
Especially at the beginning, because it was such a side hustle. It was like the bit on the side. And because it was 2019, and we went into 2020, which was COVID. Then we went into 2021, which was still kind of COVID. So those first 3 years, most people were at home kind of doing half of their job because they couldn't fully do their job and kind of baking bread and making banana bread. And I wasn't making banana bread. I was building the business. So that was my baking bread moment of like, okay, well, I'll build this whilst doing Red Bull. I think what was really nice about a lot of the people at Red Bull is that they always want to see you win and they always want to support. And also we were going through this 2020 Black Lives Matter moment. So everyone wants to make sure that anyone in their company, especially the Black people in the company, felt they were listened to, felt that they were heard, felt like, they're an inclusive company. And even before Black Lives Matter, I always felt that with Red Bull anyway. I felt very included. But also the managers are just normal people. They're just normal people who are like, normal. So, I never, ever felt guilty. I have some friends who are like, oh, I can't go to my kid's sports day because, I can't get the time off work. And I'm just like, but did you ask? And like, yeah, we asked. And they said no. And I'm just like, but you have to have that work-life balance. And I think that was always the really good thing about Red Bull, that they give you that work-life balance. And it's very important for them that you have that work-life balance. And I remember when I told my manager that I was going on Dragon's Den, he was so excited. He was like, right, we're going to set up a fake Dragon's Den for you. And so he got the head of brand, the head of sales. He literally got a panel of all the heads to do a mock run with us on like what a Dragon's Den panel would be like. And it was really, really fun. And so they would ask us questions, me and my business partner. If we didn't have the answer, they'd be like, okay, so the route to market would be so and so and so and so. And this is what I talk about with like having great people, great mentors on your side. Obviously, we're talking Christmas decorations. If I was trying to launch like an energy drink or something that was a bit more competitive, there might have been a bit more like, this is a conflict. But it's Christmas decorations.
Everyone loves Christmas.
It's Christmas decorations. It's there's no conflict there at all. And in the same way that majority of people that work in any job has a passion piece, whether that is that they go to the gym all the time, whether it's that they play rugby on the side, they play football on a Sunday, whatever that piece is, that you still do it. So this was my football on a Sunday. This is my, my baking bread moment. This is what it is. It's a side hustle it's grown. I'm not going to lie. And at one point I will have to make that decision of like, okay, am I going full or what am I doing? And that's for both me and my business partner to kind of make that decision. But right now it's manageable. But, like I said, change is inevitable. Nothing stays the same. So we just have to kind of go with the flow of things.
And what was it like actually being on Dragon's Den and that?
Horrendous. It was horrible. I was in heels as well. Never again. Because you're in there for 2 hours. So what you see on screen is 15 minutes, but you're actually in there for 2 hours and they are grilling you about your numbers, so there's so much that you don't see. And we went in there like, we're business women. Of course we need to wear a suit and heels. Never again will I do that to myself. I think when we watch it back, we don't negotiate at the end. And we always talk about, why didn't we negotiate? It's like, because we wanted to get out and we wanted to take those damn shoes off. And I was like, yeah, we just wanted to leave. It was, I say it's horrendous. And this is coming from someone who loves to be on screen, who loves, the cameras and stuff. But it was a lot. It was, when I watch it and people have gone there by themselves and they're doing, I'm like, how have you done that by yourself? Like, I was so grateful that I had my business partner, Alison, by my side, because we bounced really well off each other. She did all the numbers. I did all the storytelling. We know what our strengths are. And so we really played to our strengths. And then the first dragon said no. And then the second dragon said no. And then the third dragon said no. And I was like, oh God, this isn't going well. I thought this was going to be a win. I thought this is a great idea. And then, we pushed on, we really pushed the story. And then Peter Jones and Deborah Meaden were like, you know what, I want to be a part of this. And that was the shift. And it changed everything for our little business that was in our kitchens. It enabled us to do so much more.
Do they still play an active role?
Yes.
Do they?
Yeah. Deborah more than Peter, but yes, they are very active. Deborah's the
Do you have their phone numbers?
I do. Yeah. It's quite good with Deborah as well. Like if you message her, email her and like, oh, can I talk to you about something? Yes, darling, let's chat tomorrow. Like she's just on it, which I absolutely love. And yeah, they're good. We can use their names to get into places. And that's the thing. As two black women, there's certain doors we couldn't get through at all. Couldn't get through. We were knocking on them, knocking on the high street doors, knocking on Sainsbury's, knocking on John Lewis, knocking on garden centres. Could not get that door opened at all. Went on Dragon's Den, you got Peter and Deborah on your side. Okay, let's have a chat. Let's talk. Okay. And it just opened it for us because there's a glass ceiling in this country that, black women in general, we don't get investment. They don't see us. We can't get into their rooms. And so you have to have allies on your side to open those doors for you. Otherwise, they're just always going to remain shut. And
with that, and the more you talk about these things, you think, oh my gosh, that's a career, that's a career, that's a career. And any one individual will be quite happy and fulfilled and successful in having one of those. You have the podcast as well. And so you mentioned in your letter about pies and almost forgetting the original pie. Yeah. I call almost the popcorn effect of things popping off. And you're like, okay. So, of the pies, is there any that you're particularly proud of? Then equally of those, where do you feel the kind of the passion and the future for you kind of sits and lies?
I'm proud of all the pies. I'm not going to lie, and they're not perfectly baked pies. They all need a lot of work.
We're going in on the pie
analogy here. Allergies, it's right. There. Yeah, they're not perfectly baked, and some are apples, some are cherry. But I think I'm proud of everything that I've done. I enjoy it. If I don't enjoy it, then I'm not going to do it. And I enjoy using all these different parts of my brain, of my creativity. So with Red Bull, I love being creative. I love coming up with new ideas. I love championing people and getting them into rooms that they couldn't get open for them. To work in like this amazing company and being able to open that door for someone who never thought that they'd even have a chance to get in. And that's how I feel also with March Muses, the business. Those doors have been opened for us by people of colour, by allies who also want to open that door, and they're in that situation. So I always think it's really important to talk about people in rooms that they're not in, so that you're saying a name. And I always pray that someone's talking about me in a room that I'm not in yet, whether that's for my business, whether it's for an acting role, whether that's something to do with Red Bull, that they're talking about me in a positive way in a room that I'm not in, that I'm going to find out a bit later, because that's what I do. I talk about people in rooms that they're not in to try and bring them in. But I love all the pies. Acting, I'm going to go back to that. That's the biggest pie that I will always have. And that's the one that I love the most. But I'm very proud of March Muses. I'm very proud of the work that I did and have been doing at Red Bull. I'm very proud of my children. Those are all the things that I love doing.
One of the things that there's a line in your letter that I'm absolutely stealing, by the way, which is, and I might not remember it quite perfectly, but you said legacy is not just about what you leave behind, it's about what you're growing in front of your eyes. And I just thought that was so beautiful. And if your girls get the chance to read that, I'm even welling up. Like that, it's an amazing thing. And you get this real sense from what you've just said of this life. And again, you mentioned it in the letter.
Yeah.
You dreamed of this life and you're creating it and able to really embrace all your passions and all that sort of diverse creativity and building a business and being a Red Bull. So it's just wonderful to hear somebody that has been doing what they've been doing for so long and is still so passionate about it.
And you're going to make me cry now. I am my grandparents' wildest dreams come true. my grandparents came over on the Windrush. And what I'm doing now, they couldn't even imagine that their grandchildren would be doing all the things that they're doing. And so when I think about the decisions that they made at age 20, to leave Jamaica and come over to the UK on the Windrush, I am their wildest dreams come true. And it makes me so proud to have that as my heritage. So, yeah.
Well, as the only one who's not bawling for a change, which is quite a nice change. So we're nearing the end, and what I wanted to ask, and you mentioned your grandparents, and I'm sure they're incredibly proud. I'm sure your parents are incredibly proud as well with what you've achieved and continue to achieve as well. Who have been the key people along the way for you in terms of mentors, of influence, things like that have helped, and at what point have they kind of really been that mentor figure?
There's different people at different stages and different stages of my life. I think there's that saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And that is more true than I've ever experienced, as in it takes a village to have a career. It takes a village to, to bring your dream to fruition. It always takes a village, and having those key people around you. I always look at my mum. She's been the village. She's been the mentor. She's been the bank. She's been the, the taxi driver. She's been the advisor. She's all those things. So, and as mums, that's what, you generally are. When I think about careers, I think about some of the managers that I've had, especially at Red Bull, who have seen me and wanted me to do well at Red Bull, but also wanted me to do well outside of Red Bull as well. And it's so important having people like that in your corner who just want to see you win. And then I think about, like, at school, I went to the Brit school, and we had a teacher called Adrian Packer, who was like this amazing musical theatre teacher. And he was so fun, and he brought out just everything out of everyone. And I remember him specifically as a influential part of like me growing up and me learning about acting and myself. And so whenever I see him, and I haven't seen him for a while, but when I did, I was just like, thank you. You just, you literally just changed so much for me. And I'm excited because my daughter, who's age 14, is about to start the Brit School in August. And so the school's going to be sick of me because I'm going to be there all the time. But
can you imagine just around the household where everyone is kind of tapping away and singing? And
literally, I'm just like, I'm so excited for her to be on that journey and to meet new people and have new mentors in her life. And I hope that she has that same experience, or an even better experience than I had when I was younger. But I think you have different people in different stages of your life that influence, and it's a mixture of mentoring and influence and people who change you. I talk about the loves of my lives, and some are here for a reason, some are here for a season. And that is, that is key to remember. I think sometimes when we have heartbreak, we get so like down, and actually we have to just, you learn through everything.
I mean, I already feel like you've given people so many pearls of wisdom and advice, but we are coming to the big question, which is the piece of advice that you'd love to give your younger self. And it's the question that we ask everybody at the end of this podcast and the whole premise of the podcast. So I have got a picture of you at 22 in your finest. I'm going to hand this over to you. Where were you at this point?
I was in Brixton living with my best friends. We really thought we were like, there was 4 of us. We thought we were Sex and the City. We thought we were like these girls about town, going out in Brixton, dating, drinking Cosmos. Not that we knew what Cosmos were. And we really thought we were the bee's knees. And I think we were about to go out in this picture. So yeah, I was quite happy there. No kids, no man, just living life.
Living your best life.
Living my best life.
So what is the piece of advice you'd give to 22-year-old Natalie?
So when you asked me this question, I was like, what am I going to tell this person? And I heard this saying, and it was that you never lose in life. You can only win or learn. And I thought, actually, yeah, that's that. You can't win or lose. Lose doesn't happen. It's you learn. So if something didn't go your way and you felt like you lost, actually, it's a learning experience, which is what I've been talking about all the time. So yeah, when you haven't got what you wanted, especially when it's an audition or a heartbreak or whatever, you learn from it and then you become a better person because you've learned from whatever that loss was.
Thank you so much. I think, so many pearls of wisdom, so much to take, and we have absolutely loved having you on the sofa.
Thank you for having me.
Been amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. What an incredible and emotive conversation. And for once, I wasn't the one in floods of tears.
Indeed. I wasn't expecting it, actually, because what I loved about Natalie's letter when we first read it, and we always get a sense of the person when you read it, but Natalie jumped off the page. Her positivity, her creativity, her ambition, her real love of the life she's created that is multifaceted and brings so much of her personality into it. But how beautiful it was that she shared that with us and was able to kind of really lean into, I guess, what is quite a big driver for her.
I think we are all guilty, and societal or otherwise, feeling almost shy or ashamed of loving it, being proud of what we've done, to say so and stick it out there. And I think she is someone who 100% puts it out there, says yes, she steps forward, she takes the opportunity. Her career, to some extent, is an accident at Red Bull off the basis of putting herself forward, loving things, and where she hasn't, steering more towards the passions and points. And I think that belief and mindset is something that I think everyone could benefit from.
Oh my God, there's so much to take from her letter, and there are just some of her turn of phrases and the things that she's put in there. But I think there's something around that, the humble beginnings and not being afraid to start small, to start.
Yeah.
I mean, I suspect not most people will start their careers in a morgue or a crematorium. I mean, what was not expecting that turn,
No.
but that just being curious enough, going along, starting small and allowing that to grow and unfold. And, you know, you don't get the big title straight away. And those accidental interviews or accidental moments where you're like, well, I'll just go along to that. And what that's led to for her, I think, is such a great lesson, especially for those starting out, that there is opportunity, but it's getting started. And that's something that I really took from her.
Her way of describing a network was also lovely, I think, is that we talk about a village building people and families. I don't have the village, but actually when you think about it, it's not about family per se. It's about a group of individuals who talk about you when you're not in the room.
Yes.
That is a lovely way of explaining it. And having more people, building a group of people around you that do that is something that she's benefited from. But what was lovely, she gives it out way more than I think she receives it. So for me, I think it's lovely, and she's got so much more to come. And you know,
Spielberg's going to call.
You know something else is going to happen soon. So the fact that we have her number will be one in years to come where we're saying, do you know her? Amazing. But an incredible conversation. I loved it. Elevate operates thanks to the generosity of our partners and supporters. See the show notes to find out more about them.
Together, we're changing lives, careers and the events industry for the better. Our producer is Peter Kerwood and our sound and mix engineer is Matteo Margarelio.